Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. We are shifting gears from WWE to AEW. AEW had its follow up to one of its best episodes in recent memory, the best episode easily of 2025 of AEW Dynamite. And they followed it up with another example of a soul crushing, just status quo, by the numbers weekly episode. I warned about this. I warned about this. All you marks who wanted to come at me saying, "Oh yeah, AEW was better than WrestleMania." I was like, guys, maybe do it for more than 1 week. And here we are, same shit, different week. They had one good week that they beefed up for a with a big time show, and literally this was the exact thing that you expected from this company. The card was underwhelming. Chris Statlander and Jamie Hayter had a great main event. Jamie Hayter going over and now going to face Mercedes Moné at the pay-per-view. And I'm going to talk about that in another video about how I think that should go and how I think that will go. But yeah, Master P was there and everybody was making this big deal about Master P, owning House of Glory, and nothing came of that. They didn't even bother to mention that he owned House of Glory. There was no partnership. There was nothing from that. And so it just led to this just schmoz of a segment with the Death Riders, Young Bucks, Swerve Strickland, the Ops. It's clearly going towards a blood and guts and Anarchy in the Arena type deal. I would guess Anarchy in the Arena. It was later announced in this show. John Moxley in a couple of weeks at the spring, at the Beach Break edition of Dynamite in Chicago, is going to defend against Samoa Joe on free television. Gee, I wonder who's winning that. So, nice to see Samoa Joe get a world title match, but unfortunately he got his pin. They got their titles. It's not going to lead to really much of anything there, sadly. Again, like I said, soul crushing. Then you get Mark Briscoe and Ricochet. How about this? Competitive match. Ricochet loses. Ricochet's done nothing but chirp and just bark and take shots at WWE and WWE's booking and WWE's fans. And he loses to Mark Briscoe. And I love Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe has always been the fall guy. Good for him to get a win. But this is what I said was going to happen to Ricochet. And he's setting up a feud with Kevin Knight. Cool. Is he going to put over Kevin Knight? Probably, because he'd want to put over. But it's just, I don't get it, man. Like, it's just like Ricochet really hasn't done anything of interest since the Swerve Strickland stuff. And it's kind of been disappointing. So then Rock and Roll Express gets shown in the crowd. We get FTR out in a promo, and Stokely Hathaway is now their agent. And I thought this was weird. I love Stokely Hathaway. But first of all, his partnership and his, management of Chris Statlander last year was just unceremoniously dropped. And on a show that she's participating as a babyface in the main event of this show, the fact that Stokely was on this was kind of amusing to me. And then, Stokely is their man, is now the agent of the FTR. And he said, yeah, he's going to lift all the expunge. He made some good points about how you can light somebody on fire and no fines again. So all this was going on. And, listen, here's, and I'll get to the segment in a second. So here's the thing. I like Stokely Hathaway. I like the FTR. I don't think they need to be together. I don't. I think FTR is fine enough on their own as a heel act. They don't need somebody managing them. They're good enough heels where they can carry themselves without needing a manager. And, I get this was tied into some video package in Ring of Honor where, Stokely was watching tape of people and they could piece that together. But a lot of people don't watch Ring of Honor. So, look, in the end, it's talented people working with talented people. So I can't really complain about that. But like I said, I think you probably could put Stokely with somebody else who really needs a mouthpiece. FTR doesn't need one. So that was my issue here. And then, they bring the Rock and Roll Express into the ring, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, who seem to always die whenever they appear on AEW television. And this was weird. They then pile drive them. They attack them through this whole thing, and they revealed the new shirt that they're like, I think they're killing living legends or something like that. And it's a good gimmick to have. But here's the weird thing: at the start of this year, do you guys remember what was happening? It was either on Dynamite or Collision. It closed the show. And the Rock and Roll Express were tied up by the Death Riders, and FTR was chasing after them to save them. Now they're attacking them 3 months later. Again, nothing really is cohesive, makes a lot of sense. It's just like, it's a convenient way to get more heat. It was fine. Like I said, Dax and Cash, it was interesting. But then, hey, the Paragon, which is the old Undisputed Kingdom now, or Undisputed Elite, or what were they call it? Undisputed Era in WWE. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong come out and confront them. It seems like we're heading towards something with Roderick and and Kyle. So circle back to NXT for that. That should be a good match. And we get Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight versus the Young Bucks. Standard Young Bucks match. A lot of fast paced action. Kevin Knight actually looked really good in this match. But again, I'm just left to wonder, why did this happen? Why did this happen? Was it just to give the Young Bucks a win off the bat? It's the type of booking that I expect from AEW. And granted, yes, they made Kevin Knight look really good. Kevin Knight got distracted by Ricochet in the end of this whole thing while the ref was distracted. And, it's just, nobody sells anything. It's just a bunch of cool moves. And it's just like, cool, whatever. Toni Storm then throws out an eliminator challenge, like sort of hyping up the main event. Interestingly enough, I don't think she was on commentary. I was kind of in and out. I was watching the Cavs game at the end, but Toni challenges for an eliminator match on Collision, and it turns out Queen Aminata gets in it. Like, cool, Queen Aminata. But why are you having your women's world champion have a non-title eliminator match when you know she's not losing? Like, Queen Aminata is entertaining and a very talented woman in this division, but it's like you're giving her nothing just other than Toni Storm's beating her. So cool. Hurt Syndicate then have a promo. MJF. Okay, I got some thoughts on this, and I may not go all in, and I may do another video about this, but so there's another week of him pursuing the ones up, the thumbs up. He comes out in a fancy car. Lashley wants to give him he wants the car. So then MJF basically says, "Hey, you got to give me the thumbs up." He gets in the car and gives him the thumbs down and just drives away. And it's just, I mean, it's entertaining, but it's MJF. So I don't get it. It's just, it's not seemingly, and like I said, I'll save some of this for a separate video because like my big picture overview of MJF, I've got questions. But then the follow-up to this was very interesting, where MJF and Hangman have something backstage, where they seemingly are setting up maybe for another match, which I liked. And MJF insults Hangman insults MJF, and MJF kind of hinting at, hey, if once I get in the Hurt Syndicate, I'll bypass this whole tournament and just be the world champion again. We then get Will Ospreay and Brody King teaming together for some reason against Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander. And, listen, I love Takeshita. I love all the dudes in this match. Josh Alexander gets an assisted C4 spike on Brody King and gets the win. And it's a fun match, but here's the problem. Like, why, like, it's cool that Josh Alexander, got the win because he's a new guy there and he's got to get, why do we keep beating Brody King? Brody King's awesome. People love him. They're barking. They're doing all the crazy thing, like the Hounds of Hell. Like, the hell happened? I understand. Buddy got hurt in that small ass ring in his home country of Australia, and he's been out, and that's kind of hurt. But Brody deserves better than this, to be the fall guy in this. And I understand Takeshita's not losing because he just took a loss last week. Alexander took a loss last week. Like, you're not doing that, so I understand. But this could have been managed better. Fun match. It's standard Will Ospreay match. Hangman comes out to then confront Don Callis family, and then Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, Roppongi Vice, who now recently turned heel. They're in the Don Callis family. Like, I care. God bless Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero. They haven't been given a shit to matter in this thing. And, Kyle Fletcher gets the final laugh. He gets Hangman with a brain buster. They're facing each other next week for the spot in the Owen final at Double or Nothing next month. It's just, it's it doesn't do anything for me, this Don Callis family iteration. So, and then Jamie Hayter wins the main event with the Haterade. Mercedes Moné comes out after the match. And listen, good for Jamie. She's been fighting for a while since Wembley, and we're building. And who knows, maybe the direction that they go in is she wins at Wembley. And I'll save my thoughts for what I think is going to happen for a separate video here on the channel. This is just an overall big picture view of what happened on Dynamite. And I got to say, man, given the negative publicity around WWE, all the goodwill that went into AEW after that incredible show in Boston last week, this was a letdown. But am I surprised? No. I tried to tell you guys. I was like, I said, temper your expectations. I was like, yeah, they had a good week of television. It's the first good week of television they've had in a while. They've had some good pay-per-views. But most of the time when they're in between weeks and they don't have a big show to build, this is what you get. A whole bunch of nothing matches with no heat, nothing, just guys doing a whole bunch of cool moves, random finishes, guys, Ricochet takes a loss, Brody King takes a loss. Like there's some weird segments in between. There's this odd MJF angle that they're still going with, even though MJF's one of the top guys in the company. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, God bless you sickos who still, put your hard-earned money and invest in this, like you like it. But it's just like, for me, especially when y'all are trying to just compare and contrast it to WWE, what WWE is doing is working, despite, the overcharges and prices and everything. But when you're a rival promotion and you talk all this shit about how great you are and how talented your roster is, and you've given us one good show in 2025, and then you go back to your status quo this week, you had a schmoz of an open, which was a lot of people being involved. Master P, for whatever reason, was there, and you sort of set up your next world title picture. And okay, cool. Jamie Hayter wins the main event. I'm very happy for her. But yeah, it's just there was a bunch of stuff on the show. It's just like, what are we doing from week to week, man? You guys got a talented roster, and it's just you're putting out kind of just meh. So that's really my big picture thoughts on this. It's like, yeah, this is I'm not surprised by it. It's just it's another disappointing, boring, kind of bordering circling the drain of almost, like, it wasn't terrible, but it's just like you expect so much more, especially after last week. And they had an opportunity to potentially do something after, WWE had that bad PR week. And then obviously the critically, mixed results, and obviously that terrible main event, which I've talked about extensively on the channel, and you could go watch those videos. But thank you so much for watching. Appreciate everybody here. At 1,100 subscribers, pushing on, moving forward. Got a whole bunch of other shit coming on this channel. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you guys. Bye.